is Mercy Pilkington for GoodEReader.com and Digital Book World, speaking to Tom Mercer from 3M. So, Mr. Mercer, thank you for talking to us today. Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about what you do for 3M for the Cloud Library?
I'm the marketing manager for the Cloud Library, so I both talk to publishers to get them their content on the Cloud Library, and I talk to librarians explaining all the unique features and benefits that the Cloud Library offers your public library.
Okay, and so I actually see you're holding a device that actually was making a lot of news over the summer in terms of patrons being allowed to check out the device, not just the ebook. So why don't you give us a little tour of that and tell us how this is going to benefit libraries and their patrons?
So this is a unique piece of hardware designed by 3M for public library lending. It eliminates a lot of the problems libraries had when trying to lend consumer devices. Those devices need usernames, credit card information, are designed to sync to a retail account. So this is designed uniquely for library lending to be owned by the library and to be lent out to patrons. So it can be lent out to you, Mercy, one week, and then myself the next week, and then another patron. So when it comes back to the library, it's wiped clean and loaded with the next person's ebooks. That way someone can come into the library, find ebooks on the PC or a 3M Discovery Station, load those books, and off they go. It's a very unique benefit of the 3M Cloud Library.
Okay, are there any concerns about, you mentioned that the device is actually wiped clean of any content. Are there any concerns about maybe it gets loaned by one person, passed on to the next user who's not either of the same taste or of the same age demographic? Is that a concern for the industry?
Absolutely. That's why every time it's returned, the librarian plugs it in and it erases everything before loading that next person's content. And we actually have double checks in our software to make sure that gets eliminated. So only the books that you lent from the library can go on the device.
And I know it was launched earlier this summer in certain markets. What markets are those and how is that doing?
We're doing quite well. We're just rolling out with our betas. We have 10 beta accounts across the country. I'm going to forget some of them. But St. Paul Public Library, Mobile, Alabama, we're from Alabama, right? So you'll have to stop in Mobile. The State Library of Kansas, Pasadena, Glendale, California, Baltimore Public, and several others. I'm not going to keep going, but we're going around the country with 10 different libraries. And then we have another 20 what we call early adopters that we'll be installing at a little bit later this year once we get out of the beta phase.
Okay. If we could actually bring the device over towards this way, we'll take a look at it. And while we're doing that, I know there was early talk about at least the imagery that came out at ALA last summer involved a previous texture device. So how is this one different, or what features did you keep, and how did this one actually get developed?
So we talked to several vendors to evaluate what we had as we specified the reader, and we went through a process to find suppliers that could meet our specifications for library lending. So this is a lightweight piece of device. It's an e-ink screen. We are working. What? Turn it like this.
Yeah.
And a unique e-ink display, and it's really designed to be USB only. There's no Wi-Fi enabled. There's no browsing the internet on it, and so we're actually working to tweak it a little bit so that it's really just loaded at your library and moved on.
Okay. And so by being a lower function device, if it's less enabled to use extra features, how does that benefit the library, the users, in general?
Right. It's really a great way to let everyone in the community try an ebook. So it unlocks ebooks for those that don't have their own devices. It also reduces any kind of black market or theft because it's really only useful if it comes back to the library. So that book's loaded on there. After the lending period expires, that book is no longer able to be used on the device. And so it can come back to the library and creates a unique piece of hardware that's not going to be stolen and that synchronizes very well with their ebook collection at the library.
Okay. And one last question, and it does get into some of the concerns that the entire industry is facing right now with ebook lending. The publishers are having their concerns, obviously, piracy, and basically protecting the rights of the author and the interest of the author, but also the library patrons themselves and the ALA who are saying, we also need access to the content. What kind of resolutions do you hope for and do you see happening hopefully this year?
We're talking to publishers, and we think all publishers really have a vested interest in libraries. They know that's where people learn how to read. That's where the next generation of readers come from. They just need to think about carefully how they're going to license that content to libraries. We've been having very good discussions with all the big 6 publishers, Random House and HarperCollins we have agreements with, and the other 4 we're working towards exactly what their models will be. But we know that there's a commitment in the industry to the library market. Most of the people in the publishing industry started reading when they were kids at the library, so we feel they'll come to a conclusion and an agreement. It just takes a little time because it's a time of change for them with Amazon Amazon and the Nook, it really changes their business, and they just need to think it through and figure out how they engage with libraries.
Thank you for talking to us. Again, this is Mercy Pilkington for GoodEReader.com at Digital Book World.